Hi, everybody. This is Rick Bibby, and I had the Zoom scheduled tonight. Apparently, I had a technical mishap or two here. Apparently, when I copied and pasted it, I realized that I was copy and pasting the raw material, and the date was up on the top on the calendar that I copied from. So, at any rate, long story short, when I went back in and edited and put the date and time in the middle of the body, that apparently changed the meeting code and meeting IDs. So I signed in waiting for you, but you were trying to sign into the original code and that wasn't getting us there. But then when I logged into the original code, I was just a guest like you, and I couldn't start the meeting. So at any rate, what I want to do is I'm going to cover with you tonight what I was going to cover on the Zoom call as a video. I'm going to share that out on Facebook and send it directly to you guys to see if you guys can benefit from this material. And I'll encourage you highly to try to go ahead and get a hold of this book that Katie Dokken has written. So let me go over to the share screen now and get it up to where everyone can see this, because I think this will be very beneficial for everybody here to benefit. So the book is You Are Next: A Battle Plan for Survival. And my words at the beginning are exactly the words as she finishes the book up after chapter 11. It says, "Act now or perish. There are no more choices left, only actions." I felt that was very powerful. Then from there, she had a prologue that I think is very powerful too, that I think we need to pay attention to. So let me see if I can pull the prologue up here so y'all can keep up with this. So this is out of the book, and as you order the book from Amazon, You Are Next, Battle Plan for Survival, you'll be able to get all this information. The prologue says, "Why are you crying? They're just dogs. Is there anyone that doesn't cry over losing their dog? It's an animal rights activist. If so, well, who does cry? The 82-year-old woman watching her dogs being dragged out of her home by ignorant do-gooders using inhumane catch poles. Joan Huber isn't your average dog breeder. She's a legend in the dog world. Miss Huber was dedicated 62 years of her life to the miniature Schnauzer breed, a professional dog handler. Joan has put over 850 champion titles on dogs, attending a grueling schedule of 180 shows per year. If Joan Huber can be destroyed, you are next." It could be a tiger, could be a horse, could be a lion, could be a monkey. You know, if it can happen to a dog breeder, it can happen to you. So this book, it's for everyone, not just dogs, not just cattle, not just horses, not just tigers. It's for everybody. I mean, everybody owns an animal can benefit from this book. The bystander who sees injustice in their community to the victim themselves can benefit from this. The techniques you learn in this book are proven winners, and their effectiveness will depend on how hard you fight back even before you're actually targeted. Your neighbors are ready to target you. Why aren't you willing to fight back? Most animal owners are set up by bad neighbors who just decide one day they don't want to live next to X, whatever X is, whether it be a pig farm, a circus, or a dog breeder. They don't want to live next to you or want you to have what you have. Every animal owner in America is falling victim, and you're just waiting for it to happen. It's only a matter of time. This handbook's twofold. The first section shows you how to take the high ground back and show the authorities that you're an expert in your field, not the animal rights activist. It's also a roadmap to preventing future victims and rooting out corruption of all your localities. It's a step-by-step guide to ensure you're not the next one on their victim list. The second section contains information on how to respond to a raid and when that has already happened. It is full of lessons learned in the previous cases, yet is designed to be short and to the point. Don't argue with the advice you see here and claim your situation is so special or so different. It isn't. This is all time tested over a couple 100 victims before you. And yes, these models will fit your situation. There's nowhere left to run. You must stand and fight before you find out you are next. So what I want to stop and go to now is I want to actually go to the battle plan, I think, the heat of the battle, chapter 10, plan of action. Well, this is important, I think, because, well, there's some of you going through this stuff right now, and I'm going to cover the highlights of this real quick, and then we'll go back to the beginning, look at the table of contents, and come through what this book can do for you. Chapter 10, plan of action. First thing you want to do after the raid's over and law enforcement and animal activist rights activists have faked evidence and taken your animals, you need to have a crisis response team, and your family and friends need to start digging in the dirt and figuring out what you can do. First thing you have to do is issue a press release regarding the incident and proclaim your innocence and your long history as an animal expert. Have your crisis team help you write this press release. You don't need lawyers. You just need to get your innocence out there and do the press release. Press releases are generally about 400 words. And depending on where you try to release it at, there may be a fee of anywhere from $99 to $389 to be able to get a press release issued. But you want to skew to the press release because it's a one-way communication going out to all the places to pick up all these stories about all these things that happen. I remember TriState Zoo, man, we must have appeared in 100 different newspapers, you know, when you looked online just from one press release that PETA put out. So press releases are effective. Cross-post that press release to your social media pages. Everybody from the victim's family, friends, peers, and everybody, you need to express your outrage and get that press release out there and let that press release do the speaking. Warn your family and friends to say nothing to the media or anyone who contacts them. Direct them all back to the press release or direct them back to the crisis team. Send the press release to all previous animal buyers. Do not ad-lib. Do not deviate from your already prepared statements. The press release and statements of support is not a request to offer interviews to the media. This is a one-way communication. You need to send them materials expressing your outrage, proclaiming your innocence, and get those outrage letters of protest from your fans sent on to the powers that be. Remember, this is a one-way communication. Don't sit there and open yourself up, get on TV, be all emotional and do all that. Get your word out and get it out to as many news cycles as possible. Supporter comments on social media and comment fields should all be going from those people, but you need to try to keep everyone back on the point to the story that you're sharing. Shame the reporter that maybe did shoddy reporting. Again, the victim is to remain silent. You want the story, you want the press release, you want your fans speaking for you. And sharing the information as widely as they can. Public support on Facebook is crucial and critical, or other social media alternatives too. And issuing memes or statements almost daily to keep people's attention spans on this, because people's attention spans is about 8 seconds long nowadays. Cases typically can last a year or more, and the public will completely forget about you unless you keep your case in their face. In a court hearing or community meeting is being held next few days, there's going to be all kinds of folks there telling lies, and media is going to be there, and you're going to have to ignore them and just let your crisis response team, keep investigating and telling your side of the story from the point of view of sticking to that spin that was put out in that press release. Prepare yourself. They're going to want mental health exams on you. They're going to call you an animal abuser. They're going to call you all kinds of things, and you're going to be targeted, and you're going to have people looking at you and talking about you, send you to therapists and all these other things. You need to be prepared for that, because they're going to make you out to be the crazy one because you love animals and you're trying to protect them, and they're trying to say, no, we know better. So that's chapter 10, plan of action. So let's go back now to the table of contents. The way this book works, and it's not very long, it's only about 80 pages long, okay? And each chapter is laid out in a very organized fashion. First of all, it's taking back the high ground. This is stuff you do before. The stuff on chapter 10 was after things happen, but chapters 1 through 9 are all before it all happens. Chapter 1, taking back the high ground. Remember that attention span for most people is about 8 seconds long. You need to control the conversation. When you get those folks in there and they want to be silly with you, you need to be you need to be taking the high road and not letting them control the conversation. You need to take them when they try to go down a path, to ask them a question instead of arguing with them, because people they're not going to read the 2 pages you write. They're only going to go, aha, see, you do agree, you do think that you guys are doing bad and wrong, and they're going to try to trick you into saying things that you didn't want to say, or they're going to take what you say and twist it around. So don't do it from that point of view. All right, now let's keep in mind controlling conversation. There's some examples in the book that really talk to that, where people want to get in there and they say, how can you leave your dogs outside all the time? It's cold out. You're cruel. You're inhumane for not allowing your dogs to come inside. And then you can simply go back with questions. Well, where are you located? Are you local to me? Have you ever been here and see my dogs in person? And try to get them talking back and get them to tell you that they're actually in a whole nother world away or something. There's another example where somebody throws out, well, what about that PACT Act law? And you go in and you give them a 7-paragraph answer. Wrong. Don't do that. When they say, well, what about this new anti-cruelty law that President Trump signed? And you go, oh, and your response might be, well, what's good about it? And make them talk. Or they may say, do you want to end animal cruelty? And you go, well, how does this law actually end animal cruelty? And you keep them talking, and you just respond with questions, that being very important. Chapter 2 gets down and says copies. You need to make copies of everything. You need to back up copies. You need to make redundant copies. Never give your original certificates and certifications and forms to any inspectors or to any outside people. Only give them copies of such. Keep the originals back, so that you always have the originals, so they don't take your animal or take your papers, then you're left without them, and then you have a problem from that point of view. Keep both paper and electronic copies backed up of everything. Anything you have that you think is, on paper in front of you, back it up electronically. Anything that's backed up electronically, back it up someplace else electronically. You need to know your local laws, both your, obviously the United States Constitution, but your state constitution. You need to understand that there are laws, based on the zoning, based on your property, and it may say that you're only allowed to have 25 heartbeats of whatever animal it is on your property. And somebody shows up one day with their pet dog or their own tractor trailer full of something. They show up and they stop on your property, and because you have more heartbeats on there than you're allowed to have, you're now in violation of law, and that triggers an offense for them to come in and come after you. So keep that in mind. Keep your animal housing up to date. Know and understand all the laws that you're required to go by. If you're ever raided, never sign over your animals. Never just say voluntarily here and you're signing over. You need to keep keep them on the point that they have to keep the documentation and know which dog, which cat, which lion, whatever went where, so that you know what's going on. Develop lateral supporters. Sometimes you'll be your enemy's enemy is your friend kind of thing, and be able to reach out to some folks that you didn't think might be your friend, and they may be, and there may be other folks that's in a different animal business that may be your friend too, that you need to team up with. But definitely fight back. Don't sit back and just do nothing. Do not defend yourself and attack the person who attacked you. You gotta be in push mode. You gotta go out after the people, but you gotta do it in a way that obviously makes sense and the people can grasp. That's why the one-way PR statements, press releases work very well, because that is you proclaiming your innocence and done out there in a public way. Now there are some costs to those, and sometimes they can be free, done on social media. But if you want to really get them out there to the media, the newspapers and stuff, you're probably gonna have to pay some kind of fee to get that released that way, depending on who you go through. Become a FOIA expert. There's going to be things that that is going to be said about you, or you're going to need to get information. Become an expert how to get a Freedom of Information Act in front of you. Learn how the crime tips line in your counties work, how they may be working against you. Fight back, for words, FOIAs, we covered that. Over into chapter 3, security and screening. Well, you need security, you need locks on gates, you need volunteers screen, you need things like spy cams, motion detector lights, motion detector cameras. So you need that going all the way around your property and keeping up with everything. You need all your policies all written out, all your feeding schedules, all your policies for security, all your policies for veterinary care. All that should be in written form, documented, and posted where it's easy for everybody to find when they come in, so that you can be able to show that there's thought and ideas to how everything works. Chapter 4, how do you find dirt? Well, when people start writing back and you ask them questions and they start proclaiming they're not knowing what they're talking about, well, that's when you start capturing, screenshotting what they're doing, and then you can make a meme out of that and put back out there and show to them. There's an example in the book about somebody saying you should let the tigers all go back to Africa, where they're from, in the wild. And of course, we all know the tigers don't come from Africa. And so sometimes when they display that what they think they know, but it's wrong, then you can then turn around and pin that back on them and make them a victim of their own words. That's why you won't want to do that to yourself and let you become a victim of your own words. Screenshots. Do you know that there's a Roadside Zoo checklist? Let me show that to you here real quick. There's a Roadside Zoo checklist up here that the Animal League Defense Fund puts out. So when people come to your property, they can walk in with this with them, or with this in the car, and they're doing their viewing and loving your animals, but they're also writing down that they see accumulated feces, or they see a metal or mesh floor, or they see holes or gaps on the sides of fences, or they see animals in with one another that maybe shouldn't be. They're writing down, and then they're emailing this back to the Animal League Defense Fund. So all these things can work against you. So if they can work against us, they can work against them too, because we can do the same things. We can repeat this stuff. We can get surveys filled out by people coming to your zoos, so we know what's going on. Okay, let's go back to the table of contents. Law enforcement isn't always your friend. Animal control officers, especially, they get a little bit of training, so they get sent out and told what to do. What you got to be able to do is watch out for the essentially people that become private vigilantes. You want to go back and take your case and take it to your local politicians and letting them know that you've been violated and that you vote for them, or there are elections coming up. They need to be the one that's paying attention to what you're going through, and they need to be the one that's hearing a lot of these feedbacks from your supporters as the politicians and the folks that depend on your vote every time. How do you find the dirt? Well, that's in chapter 4. There's a lot of it out there, but the next thing is, while you're finding that dirt, you find out a lot of people in chapter 5 think they're the expert, or they're the pseudo expert, or they read something. Now because they read it, they think they know everything more than you. Now, of course, they'll get you in court and try to tell you, since you've been working with animals for 25 years, that you don't know anything either, because you don't have a zoo degree. So you got to take your expertise and you have to translate that into the public eye, that they see that. So whether that be videos you do and you post around your zoo, kind of like Carol Baskin did her bedtime zoo story or whatever. Well, maybe you got to do stories like that. Maybe you need to go down and take your pets down to city councils and stuff like that, and let them see the pets or the animals or the things that could be transported. Let them understand what your business is all about. Let them see what your business does and how you contribute to their tax base. Let them understand that you're the expert, and not these folks that's coming in here and trying to act like they're the expert, especially when they get the PETA and the everybody else in who's talking from big degrees, and usually lawyers talking, and usually off of press releases and scripts. So script yourself, script your press release, put that information out there. Chapter 6. Follow the money. Well, all of us ought to know how to use Charity Navigator or GuideStar to be able to read the IRS 990 forms to see whether some of these charities is coming after you, if they've got their own stuff that's going on bad with them. There's examples in here of somebody that's begging for money, yet he's driving around in one of the brand newest Jeeps that you could ever seen, and where's that coming from? Who's paying for that? And those kind of things. So keep an eye on that. I know somebody that they went after in Florida, and that's what they went after them on, is trying to say that they moved money around from one person to another, in somehow or another, and that's what they try to hold account to. Joe, I think, the Tiger King, and they kind of held him accountable for some of that same stuff, trying to accuse him of moving money around from within the facility to go to other things. So keep an eye on that, and follow the money, and you watch your own money. And then where you get that dirt and you pile that dirt up, well, you got to get it on social media. You got to get it in front of those politicians. You got to give public speeches. You need to get in front of schools. You need to get out there and let people see just how good you are about your business. Then finally, the raid comes in chapter 8. In chapter 8, you're talking about, what happens with the raid. Well, Keith Wilson from, the zoo down in Winchester, he got raided, and they came in, they put him in his office, took his phones from him, took his, ability to contact the world from him, and then took all his animals from him. And then finally, after they were done, handed the phone back to him, and he immediately called the cavalry group, and they've been by his side ever since. And then they showed up 2 weeks later and arrested him for animal cruelty under Virginia's new laws that they're putting in. So there's a whole chapter here about what to be done there. Telling you to refuse entry to them, demanding a warrant, asking to see the warrant. Knowing that you have a constitutional right to remain silent, and you should probably do so. When you're challenged with with different statements and everything, you should try to take as many notes as you can, and you have the right to witnesses on your property. So if there's any way to get people there, write down names and vehicle descriptions and license plates of everybody that was there, what they were doing on your property, why they were there doing it, and doing all that. But never talk to law enforcement in those situations, because one's going to play bad cop and good cop on you, and they're going to take your words, they're going to twist them. And if you've been on depositions in court, you know exactly what they're going to do. They're only going to use what they want. Develop a stock answer and use it. One of the stock answers suggested in the book is, I will answer no questions without my lawyer present and without his or her permission. That's a statement you should probably write down and keep in your wallet, so it's right there handy when you need to. Never talk to the media unless it's in a pre-scripted thing from your point of view, and you're only going to cover certain things with them, and you have your lawyer present with you, would be the suggestion for that. Well, have a lawyer. That's the next thing. A lot of lawyers are hard to find that'll represent you. There are some legal defense funds out there. I've been researching several of those since the last since last Friday when I first started doing that, and I found out that a lot of legal defense funds they won't represent you when you filing against another 501c3, a charity. They only represent you against the government. So if it's the government coming after you, some of these legal defense funds will help you. But if it's another 501c coming after you, they will put their hand up and say, no, we can't do that. So I've discovered something called Justice. Crowdjustice.com tonight, and I was looking around playing with that before this Zoom event was supposed to start, and trying to figure out how you do a GoFundMe on a site that's directly set up for GoFundMe for legal, basically. So it's Justice, crowdjustice.com, and based in England initially. Now it's got offices in the United States. So that's something that should work out good to our help us here. The biggest thing, though, in this chapter is talking about the need for a crisis team, and the next chapter talks about how to set that crisis team up. And the way the crisis team should work is that ought to be 7 to 10 people, and those are people you've picked and put on there. But once you get that crisis team in place, you as the direct principal to the attack should remain silent and stay out of the limelight, and let them handle everything, and let them proclaim your innocence, and let them go out and talk to you and react to the public. When we had TriState Zoo got hit, we unknowingly didn't have this book then. We unknowingly kind of did that. We kept Bob to the background. I led a large part of the charge, and we used social media to get some stuff out there, and anything that was released to the radio and stuff like that was done in a controlled environment. Now, we didn't have a lawyer present with us. We had a lawyer, but he wasn't there when the raid happened and stuff. But those things now are well laid out in this book. So if you follow this book, use this book. I wish we'd have had this book when they came to TriState. I really, really do. But there's a lot of stuff we did, and we did right, and just by luck we did right. And there's some other things we did, giving back long drawn out answers to people asking us stuff and yelling at us and telling us, did you not look at the ugly pictures that PETA took and that kind of thing. So there are good things that I've learned from this, that I would have done things differently had I known this when everything happened. So please, by all means, get this book, order this book from Amazon, get it in, and it'll take about a week to come in once you order it. That's what mine took. But once you get it in, go through it, highlight it all down. I got yellow highlights all through here telling me, all the important parts and what I felt was important and what I felt was, least important. But I highlighted it all up and got it ready to be able to be viewed and used. And then finally, chapter 11, after you get past chapter 10, that's your battle plan. How do you come out on top? Using all the stuff you've learned, and working with a cavalry group and National Animal Interest Alliance and Protect the Harvest and other groups. Those will help. Having some sort of legal fund that you're working with, those all help. But just dreaming and wishing and hoping it won't be you, it's long past. You have to get off your hands, and you have to take the gag off your mouth. You've got to go out there and beat your chest or proclaim you're the expert and you know better in this business that you're doing. But trying to do it in a calm, cool, collected way, so that you don't come off where they want to take you down and have you analyzed. We have to be loud and speaking, but we have to do it in a way that we win the battle. We keep the moral high ground. So understand how laws affect you. Contact your lawmakers regularly. If you vote for somebody but you don't personally know that person, then I suggest you get down there and you get to know that person before you vote for them again, because that seems to be a lot of the issues, that if you keep your face in front of people that you're voting for, and those people are making these laws, you might have some influence. If they know your face, they know what you do. Support your fellow animal owners. Never ever assume guilt about anyone that you've never met personally. Right? There's nothing. It's better to be wrong than support terrorists by mistake. If you aren't sure if the victim is innocent or not, just stay silent. Do your part every day to stop the flow of donations to groups like PETA and everything. But if you don't know if another animal owner is guilty or innocent, best just remain silent until you have all the facts. Push back against your local rescues, because especially with dogs, they act like they're rescuing, but they're not necessarily rescuing. They're bringing them in from other countries and then just basically selling them to make money. So there's a lot of fringe lunatics out there that just want to wipe animals off this planet, and we have to make sure that we, the people that love animals, are doing our part to correct that understanding. They talk about Alinsky's rules for radicals in here, and there's so many things in here about use their rules against them. How much the time is spent wasting and arguing irrelevant information in social media. So there's a lot of rules from Alinsky on here. She talks to a thing called the infinite game, and the author of that has 5 things he points out here. 1, is it a just cause? 2, do you have trusting teams? 3, is it a worthy rival that you're fighting? 4, is there existential flexibility in being able to work with the shifts that you have to do to succeed? And do you have the courage to lead your way out of this quagmire you're in? You're in a winnable war. Don't get me wrong. The war is winnable. The problem isn't the quality of your product or your animals. The problem is the unsuccessful messaging and your base's unwillingness to fight back. Change your message, not your product. Punch that bully back on social media every time you're attacked, and stop appeasing and apologizing. You got to tell them, I'm the expert, I know better, and you have to keep that well-founded. When they come at you, ask them questions, get them to fully explain why they think you're not good or why they think what you're doing is bad. All right, and then lastly, don't give up hope. We're not getting close to the point where Americans are finally giving up. They're actually starting to wake up about their loss of rights. Carriage horses are on the chopping block right now. Many are aware of all the zoos are taking this huge hit right now. Your ultimate choice is to act now or perish. There are no more choices left. That was how I let off this conversation. That's how I'm going to wind it up here tonight. I will tell you that I am truly sorry that the Zoom thing didn't work out tonight. We had 2 people the first night, so I redid it to get more people. And then in that process of trying to copy and paste and bring everything over, I messed some things up. I just did 35 of these Zooms for my insurance company this month, and they all worked out well. I didn't have a glitch. And then tonight, on such an important topic, I messed up. I'm sorry. I apologize. But please take this message and share it. I'm going to post this on my United States League of Animal Owners. I'm going to post this over on Fear the Dash. I'm going to post this on several people's messengers. So once you get it, please share it. I'm going to post it on the Stand with Stark page also. So wherever I can get this thing to, please get this video out there and share it. But after that, I'm just trying to get you an early advance notice. Please get the book. And if you haven't ever read her book called The Art of Terror by Katie Dokken, Dokken, please go out and buy that book from her too. It'll wake you up. If you got volunteers that don't really know much about the animal business, get them to read that book so they understand what they're walking into and what the battles they have to fight going forward. Okay, I'm going to wrap up here now. I truly appreciate everybody's being able to be on the call here with me tonight, even though it's a video coming back out. But thank you for at least entertaining the idea of listening to me, and thank you for what you do. Keep up working with your animals. I believe in you. Believe in yourself. Keep telling America that we're all fighting this battle together. And I'll use my blog, the www.awvsar.com, to lobby support for you, as well as my Facebook page, United States League of Animal Owners. So thank you. Rick Bibby signing out.